Hey, Lot. Thank you for attending the meeting. Um, Things will start making sense in time, hopefully soon. Right now, it all seems a little bit messy, but okay. Anyways, you did mention that you were taking screenshots and so forth of the tools that we're using. So I just figured record a quick video describing the tools that I have on my charts. Um, that are um, sort of central to the way I personally trade and manage and navigate markets. Luca had a slightly different thing. He didn't even have VWAP on his charts or anything. Just a few days ago, we kind of agreed that we were going to start using that. So um, let's start with the volume profile, which I've already mentioned it a lot, and I think it's the most important. And quick description of the volume profile that I have here. This is um, it's, what do they call it? They call it a variable range volume profile. And what that means is that the profile is going to factor in any candles that are inside the frame. And it'll change as you move the frame or move, zoom into the chart or zoom out or move, forward, whatever candles are inside the frame, that volume chart is going to take a couple of seconds and then it adjusts to that. So that's the main feature of that one. There is what we call a fixed range chart, volume profile, which you can always choose it here on TradingView, and then you kind of like dictate what range you want it to cover. In this case, I can choose this little bit of consolidation here, for example. And if I do that, then it gives me the volume profile for that particular point in time. This is a daily chart of what is it? This is Bitcoin. Okay, so this is basically during that time. During this consolidation, this was the volume profile. And if you zoom in, you'll see sort of, we have a point of control around this area at 105. It did trade a few, we have like a vacuum here in volume, and then we have another significant value area here at around 107, another one a little bit here at this area. So, that's sort of how it, how it profiles basically. Um, so, but aside from that, I can delete that. You have this one that just changes with whatever's inside the frame. So how do I um, how do I set it up? Well, I can't remember how to set it up really. I think you go to however you go, you go to indicators and you'll find it there. I don't know if I have this configured. I did it myself or it's standard on TradingView, but if you hit the / thing, it brings up indicators and then you can just look it up here. So you type in volume profile and it'll give you there are a ton of people that add just random people that create indicators and add it to TraderView. So you kind of have to like pick the one that is the standard one in TradingView, and I can't remember how to find that one. I favorited myself mine, so I have it here, and it's just called um, visible range volume profile. So if you type that in, um, it should show up. Um, it should show up. I guess top of the list. Here it shows some under my favorites, so I'm sure how it's going to show up for you, but it's not going to be under community. Community is people that create indicators. They use Pine code, and they just build these indicators, and then they put them there. But this is not from community. This is like um, something that was developed by TradingView. So you go there, and then once you add it, then the sorry, these are the parameters and the um, settings that I have it at. So style, it can be whatever you want. I basically chose mine to be pink, and I gave them some transparency so I can see sort of like through them. They could be a little bit more transparent, but they're not too invasive. And so that's what I chose. But also, um, what's actually important is that you choose the value. So I have it here at the width. I have it at 30, and that's the percentage of the box. I have them placed to the left. You could place them to the right, which a lot of people do. Sometimes I switch them to the right for lower time frames. There it is. I just put that mine on the left. Um, I don't differentiate between up volume and down volume. So if you had that selected, for example, on this oh I got rid of it on the other one too. So anyways, if you choose that, then you'll have a different color for the ones that are, you know, just like in this volume. So you have green candles, you have red candles. The green candles are the ones that, where you're getting fills on the, all the transactions are filling on the offers, and then the red candles are the ones that are getting filled on the bids. You're going to see the same here. So I don't like that to differentiate because, well, we can go into the reasons later, but basically that can be misleading. I can get misguided, um, because not always, just because it's a red volume candle, it doesn't mean that it's going down. I don't want to be misled that way. So anyways, we can go into that later. Um, Value area high, value area low. If you choose those, it's going to basically give you, it's going to mark where the high is and the high and the low is. I just have the point of control um, uh, chosen, and I have this one. It's called developing point of control. So the point of control basically gives you the point of control, which in this case, I don't know why it's not showing here. It's here because who cares? Well, I guess, yeah. So it's showing us the point of control here for the whole frame, right? We have different value areas up and down the chart here, and different areas that we could call points of control within that little value area. But in general, in the whole frame, the strongest um, bar is going to be where the point of control is. So I have that. So it gives me a little red line indicating that. And the other one that I mentioned, which is a developing point of control, is this little pink line that kind of tells me sometimes. So if you zoom in and out of the chart, that point of control shifts maybe to another area. In this case, it's up here. But that developing point of control gives you, so there's another important level that's here. That's not the actual point of control, but then this thing kind of tells you like, hey, you have another important area developing here. Or sometimes it shows you that before this point of control developed, earlier in the chart, somewhere before this frame, there was a point of control that was at this level, and it's letting you know with this pink line, it's letting you know that that was there, even though it's not there anymore. And you can see it here sort of grayed out. You can see that that was an important line. And if we go back, we'll see that there's an important, value area in this because there's a consolidation here. So And that's what that pink line is from. And now in this case, that's the actual point of control because we went back. But then this pink line here is letting us know that there was another important point of control with a value area earlier. And if we move back into that area, we'll probably find that there's an important, you know, um, value area in this area. So they, that's the function of that little pink line. Sometimes as it gets noisy, it makes your chart a little bit noisy. There's too much going on, but it's actually pretty useful. That's how I set up my um, sorry, my volume profile. Let's see what this is. Visibility. I don't even know what this is. I don't think I checked anything there. And inputs. So if you want to copy this, you're welcome to. So row size, I have 88. Um, volume, I have it at total volume and not the delta volume. And the delta volume would divide it again into negative delta and positive delta. And then value area volume, I have at 78. That's it. Those are my settings. So if you want to copy those, that's fine. So again, I think you understand well how the volume profile works. Um, it's a very important, way of finding those important levels and those areas where there's liquidity, as you've already probably seen, like every time there is something is trading in a range or there's some sort of consolidation, there's always going to be a point of control to that consolidation, and then we're going to be trading. Um, there's going to be a range, right? So every time it gets away from that point of control, which is basically the center of that consolidation, then we're going to, it basically extends into a certain area, and then there's a mean reversion. It reverts back to the mean. That point of control is the mean of that consolidation there. That's basically how consolidations work. And while we talked about this, there's a huge role in when that range starts compressing around that mean or that volume point of control of that consolidation. Is that when we usually get then these moves. This is actually a daily chart, and this is when Donald Trump won the election, November 4th. Pull back here into after this little breakout, it came back. And then when Donald Trump won, this thing, went crazy, right? This is Bitcoin. Obviously, when we are grading levels or finding important levels, it's not just a volume profile. There are other things that are in play, which I'm sure you've toyed with and you've figured out on your own. But there's, sometimes it's when we see some things like wicking into, like here, for example, wicking in a certain area, and then they also get tested from the bottom. Like this would be an important level. It's not an important level on the volume profile. It's actually one of those areas that's at the fringes or at the edges of a consolidation. So, extended away from a volume profile, but they also matter. And those levels are important, especially when we're looking for areas to fade consolidation. So there's many ways of determining important levels just for these little specific setups and patterns that we're using, especially for breakouts and that originate trends. That volume, that point of control in a volume profile ends up always being very important. But again, there's also other ways, like in this case, even fundamental catalysts, like November 4th is an important event, not just for Bitcoin, for every little product, right? So that November 4th, here it coincides with obviously that with the it's in the volume, the point of control of that value area, but sometimes it won't. But that event marks that level, right? So whenever if this was trading at 67, it was at 67 200 when Trump won, and then it goes from there. That level, whether it's important on the profile or not, that's a criteria that's actually very important, very strong in order to grade the importance of a technical level. And how important is that level? Well, we're revisiting it right now after this Bitcoin crash. We're actually moving into that 60, I think it was 65 or 67, super important area. We actually dipped below it into the 60s, but now we're balancing. But this is a huge level, right? So, anyways, that's regarding volume profile. The other one that we have is um, um, the VWAP, actual VWAP. So super important. I don't know. I'm not sure. I mean, I was surprised when Luca told me that he didn't use VWAP and he actually apparently didn't even know what it was. I'm not sure if you told me if you use VWAP or not, but if you don't, you have to. Like this is just something any intraday trader needs to be using VWAP. Like it's just that one indicator that's has to be there. So I have it out of my chart right now. So see if we can switch it on. Sometimes I switch it off because it gets noisy um, on higher time frames. But there it is. VWAP has. I used to trade only with this just the VWAP line itself, but now I added the 1 standard, 2 standard, and 3 standard deviations, and I'll explain later why. But these things function basically as Bollinger Bands. I don't know if you know anything about Bollinger Bands, but you know these are good ways of sort of keeping tabs on how extended things are or not. Um, you can see how they compress and then they like the range expands, and that's an important function of those bands as they are when you're trading with Bollinger Bands, for example. Like you see these compressions and then you see these expansions. And when you see these huge expansions, it's when well, basically when there's like huge directional momentum, like what we've been getting lately, right? But not just that. There's also the tilt or the slope, I would say, the slope of the trend, of whether VWAP and the bands are trending upwards or downwards, and how steep is that slope. That's also important. We can go into those things later. Those things, you know, little by little, you'll see how I've been using them. But VWAP is definitely something that you want to have on your chart. Why? Because it is the average price. So it's the average price that participants have been paying, and it's volume weighted. So it's a moving average, but it's weighted by volume. And just a very rough way of looking at it is that when things are trading below VWAP, it means that basically the bulls, um, the bears are in control. And if we reclaim and we're trading above VWAP, that means that basically the bulls are in control and the bears are sort of in average aggregate by volume, they are actually underwater. So that's sort of what that means. And there's many different ways of looking at that. If you're extended from VWAP, it, it's different, very different from trading above VWAP, but very close to it. Um, and we need to have it. There are a bunch of little setups, iterations of setups that we'll go into as they appear that use VWAP as their anchor. So you want to have that on your chart. Then I'm not going to tell you how to set it up. I think it's pretty easy, but anyway, you just, again, same thing. Go to indicators, type in VWAP, and if it doesn't show there at top of line, then you can top volume, weighted, average price, and that will bring it up. Again, it has to be not one of the community created ones, but the main one. These are all under community, so I'm not sure how it's. You know, you look for it, you'll find it. So that's the other key indicator. Obviously, trend lines in TradingView, it's Alt T, and every time you do that, you can draw a trend line. So that's not an indicator itself, but you should, you know, I use them a lot, and it's a good tool. Um, and I think that's basically it. What I have in terms of tools here. I don't have. Okay, I have. If I go to a 1 minute, oh, this is a 1 minute. I do have a 10 EMA, and I think you do have an EMA also up. I think it's you have a 9 EMA. Um, I don't even see it here, so it might be turned off. No, it is there. So it's that purple line here. So this is a 1 minute chart. This is a 1 minute EMA. This is, again, I think we talked about this. This is what would have kept me inside that trend the other day. Um, or, you can always enter, join trend on a higher time frame if you're getting, you know, off of that EMA. Whatever, we can talk about. I don't use the EMA much. You do, so we can discuss, come up with ways of using it creatively. So, yeah, those are all the tools that I have, the indicators basically that I have in my chart, and I don't have them on all at once all the time because sometimes they get noisy. If I'm trading intraday, I want to have that VWAP up. Sometimes I turn it off. If I'm trying to do like higher time frame analysis because I don't want it to get in the way, I do have like um, I have like um, oh, there it is. I have a 200 moving average there. That's never in the way really because we're so extended from the 200 moving average on all these products that we never see it, so I don't have to take it off. Sometimes if we're trading around that, I just take it off because it gets in the way. It's an eyesore. We always know kind of have an idea of where it is because it's so important. So anyways, it's there, but it's not there all the time. What others? Well, obviously I have volume, so just this normal volume chart here at the bottom, like obviously super important, and and that's about it. Those are all my indicators. So um, again, you can use this as a cheat sheet if you want. All right.